So welcome back to the second session of the end of free will, if there was such a free will anyway. Um, so what's being suggested is picture this, your apparent life, seemingly a grand tapestry of apparent choices, choices that seem right or feels wrong, decisions that may cause happiness or maybe regrets, and actions that may evoke some righteousness or maybe shame and guilt or both, seemingly unfurled before the apparent you. But what if that this intricate narrative is just an illusion, like a mirage in a vast desert of existence? So what's being suggested is to question the very essence of this apparent meaning and the cherished belief in free will. What is free will just outside of a belief system? What if there is just a construct of the belief system as well? So seemingly at the heart of this argument, from a scientific point of view, um, you know, which is often discussed as the cause, which seems to be that mysterious organ called the brain. So in science, seemingly, when there is a questioning, like, where are these choices seemingly coming from? So what it does is it looks at this neural machinery that seemingly drives the thoughts and action. So in neurological determinism, it suggests that the choices that are made are not driven by some ethereal me or a me or a no me, but by the intricate dance of neurons and neurotransmitters. So it looks like that the character is just a puppet. And if you really look at it, the brain is the puppet here. But there's still no me. There's still no you that does any of this. So seemingly there's the illusion of choice. There's an idea that the character is making choices. Well, think again. Seemingly there's experiments that has shown that the brain decides before it's even realized or before you even realize it. The illusion of choice is a very masterful trick, seemingly a grand performance staged, a stage performance with the illusory me as the audience. But there's not even an audience because there's no person, there's no me, hence there's no brain as well. Seemingly there's unconscious forces at play. Um, Beneath the surface of this appearance, seemingly, a multitude of forces conspire to shape the decisions. Seemingly, there's some childhood experiences, societal influences, um, subconscious biases that seems to be the puppet strings that pulls the character in different directions without consent. So what seems to be happening then? And then again, if it goes into scientific foreplay, that's what I call it. That's not going to lead into any orgasm because there is really no knowing what is, and it can go into many different determinations of what seems to be happening. But the myth of the self cannot be dismantled. It's just a myth. There is no independent self. It's not you who chooses. There's no you that ever chose. It's like a kaleidoscopic of, factors that seems to arise externally and internally that seems to converge to determine this apparent path, but there's not even a path. So the me is just a fleeting illusion, but seemingly all of these factors are illusory, dreamed up by a me. So even if you go inward, outward, anything that goes around in trying to determine what seems to create this tapestry of choices, this seeming, right or wrong, these decisions that seems to happen, the actions that may take place. Um, and then it goes into this, what about moral responsibility? Um, so what's a game changer if there's no such thing as free will? The moral responsibility takes on a different hue, like a different idea. So there's no architects of our actions. There's no participation in this vast interconnected web of seeming causality, but there's no cause even. But even if you look at the deterministic seemingly appearance of what seems to happen, it's almost like a cry for compassion, that there's no one doing any of this. But compassion for who? It's almost like an act of unconditional love that seemingly appears as this or that, that seemingly appears as a witness, but there's not even a witness, so to speak. So this talk is to, question the very essence of free will, showing that the autonomy that we seemingly hold dearly may be nothing more than an enchanting illusion. Some will basically argue that it's a brain or something, that this is all brain and everything. But what if in a dream there's no reality and there's no illusion, it's all a dream? So meaning that reality is a dream, the illusion is a dream. And there's nothing that is more or less than, or there's nothing real or not real. It's just all the same. In the absence of a character, in the absence of you, there's just this free flowing what isness, what seems to happen, seemingly random, but seemingly constructed, seemingly opposite, but there's no opposition, seemingly this, seemingly that, but nothing can be figured out because the very figuring out is just another construct. So how do you end the play of this seeming illusion? Well, you can't end it because there's no you to end it. It's a seemingly a call to embrace, although there's no one embracing, the complexity of what seems to be appearing as human nature. And basically rethinking the role of this play as a player or just as a play with no players. So what seems to appear in this conversation, which is very contradictory, is the expression that in the absence of free will, what seems to happen is a deeper, even like an embrace of what isness without anyone attached or detached to it. It does not need to be accepted. It does not need to be rejected. It just simply is. Everything is just seemingly happening on its own without a you, without your control, without any purpose, without any meaning. And it goes back into that expression that is often shared here, that there's nothing needed, that everything's already being done, but no one's doing it, that everything is already happening, but it's not happening to anyone, that everything is already as is, and there's no one driving any of the show. And it goes into this untapped liberation of perfection, no matter what, perfection in everything, the innocence in everything, the seeming play of opposites when there's no such thing as opposites, the seeming idea that there is someone when there is no one, the seeming understanding that it cannot be understood, the seeming comprehension of the incomprehensible, the seeming play, but there's no players in it. It's just this. It can get complicated again by questions of like, what do I need to do? How do I do not to do? What can be done when there's nothing to be done? What can be attained when there's nothing to attain? And all of these swirling questions that seemingly appear out of no choice. There's no one choosing all these thoughts coming, popping in and out. It's just what is. And it's seen from a lens of innocence. There's nothing wrong or right of what seems to be happening. And even from that lens of innocence as well, when there's an action taken, either to stop or to reject or to accept, there's also no one accepting or rejecting. It's just what seems to be playing in this unknowable stillness that seems to be moving dynamically, although there's no one moving in it. If you have any questions, if you want to play in this construct called the Q&A, please go ahead. There's a couple of questions here that have not, but if there's a question, we can talk about it. Just let me know if I'm talking too much because I like this subject, obviously, for no apparent reason. And if I get too scientific, the question here, it's all like that. It's all one giant foreplay. Yes, scientific foreplay will never lead to an orgasm. Yeah. And that's Dr. Leela. She's the Thank you. Hi, Dr. Leela. How are you?
Hi, Emerson. It's my favorite circle jerk subject.
Yes. You missed the first one. Actually, that was so long that I was, it was kind of funny because I just kept on going and going. Are you there? It was just, I'm like, okay, stoppy, because you know what? It's kind of like when we talk, we geek out about science, right? But there's also
Right.
nothing to get from science. Kind of
Yeah.
like what you said, which remained with me, which is really, and I always say it, like looking at a bee, right?
Right.
Looking at a bee and the construct of that, of how illusory it is and how real it is at the same time. All of
Mhm.
science cannot even match that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Share that again. I like that. That's my favorite from you.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
elevated to the top story.
Yes. That's the top story of Dr.
Well,
Leela.
it was it pried me out of my $1 million a year career.
Yes,
It
that's
had to have been a good one.
yeah.
It got me out of my golden handcuffs, which were illusory and didn't exist. Right?
Beautiful.
A
Yeah.
friend of mine said that we imagine that we're handcuffed wherever we are, but that all we have to do is relax and they just fall off. That
Yeah, that's
we're
beautiful.
not handcuffed at all. That
That's
we just
beautiful. Have you
handcuffed.
read that book by Dr. Sampolsky?
Oh God, no. Why would I read
It's
that?
long.
I wouldn't read it. I mean, what I do with books like that is I just look at the table of contents and sometimes I read the conclusion at the end. But
Actually,
I
I did that for
don't
the last four chapters. Yeah,
what
just
I
like
like what I like about the guy is he spends 3 to 4 months with apes in the forest.
yeah,
Can't he can't handle the whole human discourse on the subject. He doesn't really even want to argue for it.
yeah,
But what he keeps, I don't know if you mentioned it, but he assumes since there's no free will, that everything is predetermined. And
yeah.
that's a big mistake. Of course
It
not.
is a big mistake. Yeah, it is. And it's
Because it's his rational mind. He can't give up thinking that there's got to be some sort of rational explanation for things.
and that's what's fascinating about it. Remember, we're talking about its turtles all the way down. So he did
Yeah.
that with his book, right? So it's turtles all the way down. So he goes into chaos theory, he goes
Mhm.
into determinism, indeterminism, he goes into quantum determinism, and just all sorts of this stuff, right? Like I'm walking around, I'm like, you know what? This scenery is much more interesting. That's what's being said here because it does not need to be explained. Um, but for the seeming purpose, just to kind of like, to be able to talk about this, I had to listen to some of it, and it did not really. It's tries so hard to come up with the conclusion, but it can never. So he went into this black hole of seeking, right,
Right.
free will.
And then he couldn't take it anymore. So then he went out and hung out with the apes because
That's
they have,
right. Yeah. And criminals. He actually went with the criminals too, which is
yeah.
really, really fascinating. But you know what? Even though that there's no such thing as determinism in the neurobiology of it, it also points out to the innocence of what is.
Well, I don't know if this fits in episode 4 of our AI discussion, but you know what the new thing is? I have a whole new riff now.
Oh, cool.
Do you want a preview?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So the new thing in neuroscience, there's only been one book written about it to my knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
is what's called aperiodic noise.
Mm-hmm.
And they're no longer realizing that the signal for all these years since the beginning of the EEG, all we cared about was what's called signal, which is the
Oh,
alpha and the beta and the delta and the theta and all the little spikes in the waves, right? So if you think of it in terms of the double slit experiment, it's the particle, not the wave. It's the collapse of the wave function into the signal. The signal is what we are paying attention to as important.
Mhm.
So of course, you know, when you're in beta, you're in rational mind, and
Yeah.
then alpha is this and theta is this, and where it is important, and whether it's synchronous or asynchronous or blah, 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 blah. Well, all of a sudden we're noticing that underneath all these signals is something called aperiodic noise, which is the 1 over F function. It's basically chaos.
Yes.
It's noise, randomness.
Yes.
It's exactly what is supporting. Everything is emerging out of it and going back into it. So, like, follow me here.
Yeah.
So light. So the other day I had one of my brain explosions because I was, you know, it's not like I think I'm going to get meaning out of any of
Yeah.
this, but it all starts to kind of click, 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 click.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I realized that light breaks. Oh, the other thing that happened this week, or no, for me, I realized this week, but it actually happened in April, was that they did another double slit experiment. And instead of separating the slits in space, they separated them in time at the Imperial College,
Oh.
at the Imperial College in London. So what they did was the YouTube clips on it, the few YouTube clips there are on it, says, the double slit experiment now broke time. So now what
Ooh.
happened is there is no more belief that time is the whole idea of the speed of light is gone.
Yeah.
As being the limit, and light goes now backwards and it goes sideways and it actually cancels itself out. And
Yeah.
that's why the black holes are now disappearing. But anyway, I may not be explaining this well, but so I said,
You are actually. I'm getting
so
it. Yeah.
photons are qubits in the quantum computing.
Mhm.
Photons. Light is both a wave and a particle. We know that light breaks both space and time. So the assumption of the existence of an observer with a fixed location in space-time, any point of view, it can be behind the eyes or it can be anywhere in the observable universe, creates the entire observable universe.
Ooh.
Without a center or a fixed point of view, then all you have is a wave-like space-time where you have the wave function, where space-time is not fixed but flexible. Information is simultaneously present and entangled, like the Akashic records.
Yeah.
So because you have no observer of the wave function, there's no signal coming out. There's no particle. There's no 1 and 0. It's all in between. It's the vertical, like we were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where
Brilliant.
experiences that we ascribe to saints and mystics, where matter bodies can dematerialize, where this is where it all makes sense. The brain is a quantum biocomputer. It has the ability to compute both signal and noise. Now we're realizing the noise is actually more significant than the signal. Signals are the headset or icons on the desktop.
Yeah.
They are not reality, but rather an evolutionarily efficient process, allowing an organism to organize the noise, chaos, into a functional bin or token or layer or concept via functions, thoughts, reason. The chance that they represent reality is 0. Psychedelic drugs turn the signal function off, allowing slower waves and aperiodic noise to shine through. This reveals the infinite mystery, neutrality, and beauty of the universe. Once the human mind releases its hold on reason, ego, and me, it no longer separates the field of freeform dance of the wave-like quantum universe. Now, what's interesting about the way AI, we're worried about AI. AI is now learning in this chaos theory. It's learning by aperiodic noise or this chaos type. The way, so what other things are like that? Ant colonies, weather patterns, the markets, anything in nature on the large enough scale, the galaxies, all of that are examples of this type of aperiodic noise. I'm thinking of what it's called. It's called a CA something. Now I'm having a brain fart on it. But I've been asking my chat GPT about this.
Yeah.
And it's been teaching me about this. So anyway, we'll go into it in the next section. But that's how AI is learning. That's why we can't follow it, and that's why it's going to be super intelligent way before we can even Yeah, it's learning by just throwing, it's basically throwing millions of pieces of spaghetti against the wall.
Yeah, to see which one
And
sticks.
right, and each ant has no idea of the brilliance. The bee has no idea of the brilliance of the larger thing, and that's where we get to quantum determinism. Is there really a controller behind the whole project? Or
Yeah.
no, of course not. There's no
Yeah,
control.
yeah,
There's no
yeah,
controller behind the whole project. There's no
yeah,
God or great programmer in the sky, and we're
yeah.
just simulations in their big game, right?
But yeah, I
No.
agree that there's no control. That's what I was saying.
Anyways, okay, we'll go from there.
It's beautiful, right? You know what discussing this, because it was so funny, right? Because here was some Polsky kind of like, saying that it's all chaos. I'm like, that's it. It's chaos. He
That
goes,
is it.
and then he said, but how can there be chaos in a deterministic universe? I'm like, oh.
Oh yeah. You said
So
something. I have a quote from you somewhere. I'll come back in with
it's
it. Okay.
beautiful though, right?
You
It,
said
it's
seeking is trying to organize chaos.
yeah.
That's a quote from you.
Yes.
You were on.
It's like seeking is trying to organize freedom.
Right.
Yeah. When
Okay.
seeking is also freedom. It's the same thing, right? It's kind of like, it's beautiful of how here's this Stanford University professor, that has spent 30 years, and it's so evident the seeking energy in that, right? Of trying to find what is, and picking a subject and everything. But at the same token, you know what I was sharing earlier, that what is so game changing about, although it's already obvious that there's no free will and everything, um but usually the response is, of course there's no free will because there's no one making a free will. But if it's explored in a way of even citing some scientific kind of like masturbating or something,
Mhm.
it still creates this clarity that if you go all the way back into spiritual attainment and everything, um practices, correction, when a guru corrects you, when there's an instruction and everything, although it's just what is, right? Karma, awareness, whatever, what, all of that spiritual seems very archaic now.
Mhm.
It's almost like, when you get out of the Catholic religion, and your view
Mhm.
of your myopic view of sin and everything, and heaven and hell and everything, and then you go to spirituality, which seems to be but seems to be an upgrade, although it's not really an upgrade because it's just another belief system. Then it becomes this belief now, what I'm saying, of awareness and consciousness, and self, and all that kind of stuff like that. Imagine throwing all of that down the drain.
Mhm.
And that just creates this suffering and suffering and suffering. Like looking kind of like further ahead, although there's nothing further ahead in the historical, the narrative, me and everything, when it sees that everything is just operating on innocence.
Mhm. Yes.
Yes, right. And that's
Well,
the
innocence
great
and love.
implication is no free will, is love, is unconditional
Innocence and
love
love are
in
the same
action,
thing. Right.
right? So wow.
Okay. The thing, by
Yeah.
the way, I just found the thing I was trying to tell you.
Okay,
It's
okay. Go ahead.
CAS is a complex adaptive system. Emergent properties come out of complex adaptive systems. Those are the random noise systems that are
Yeah.
so big. So consciousness is an emergent property of a complex adaptive system.
Mm,
That's how the brain produces, quote,
yeah.
produces traffic flow patterns, market dynamics, ecosystems, norms and cultural trends, organizational behavior, ant colonies, the immune system, all of cellular life, all of the patterns of the stars and galaxies, weather patterns, so et cetera, et cetera. Fascinating,
Wow.
fascinating, fascinating, fascinating. Anyway.
It's so fascinating, it's
Uh,
so fascinating, and
and of course, our brains will never understand any of that.
no.
I mean, we're just a little ant in that huge, massive colony.
Yeah.
Um,
Everything that we've said so far is irrelevant to what is.
we're carrying our little leaf. We have no idea where we're going, but we're going with great purpose and self-importance.
That's right.
All
And not a
right.
single thing that we have uttered is helps.
All right. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Thank you. If there's no free will and no self, then it doesn't matter if we realize that or not. None of this matters at all. It would only seemingly matter to the illusory self, no, which apparently doesn't exist. It's all a moot point. Exactly. It's always a moot point. There's nothing to kind of like what the I always talk about that there is nothing that is said here that matters, that can capture this, that can comprehend this, because what's being spoken about, what is being expressed here, is constantly already what is. It does not need any kind of dissertation. There's no self or no self that can seemingly create any kind of distraction or kind of like even scratch the surface of what's being talked about. Mark, go ahead, please. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Well, so it only matters to the one who think it matters, or
What's that?
it only matters to the one who think it matters, or is
But
that
there's
too much?
see that's the thing. There's not even a one.
Right.
The one is a construct of the one that thinks. But the thinking, the one that thinks, you know what I'm saying, is a construct. So everything that it creates is a construct. It's an abstraction of something that cannot be figured out, right? So it creates this narrative. So the one is the narrative one, but there's really no one. And you're trying to figure it out, although I already said, and that's okay. If there's no one, there's no others, there's nothing. There's just this. And even saying this is way too much. There's no separation, there's no undoing, although it seems like it's doing. So it's dynamic contradiction. Everything seems contradictory. Everything seems to have an opposite, but there's really no opposite to it. Everything's made up, but what seems to be longed for cannot be made up.
It seems when it's obvious, and when it's not obvious, it's just not obvious. But
Well, it's always obvious, but not for you. Or not for me. It has nothing to do with you or me. But it's obvious. It's obviously always. It's obviously constant.
so the thought that comes up that
It seems to create a division of something that cannot be disturbed, right? So it's like there's this piece that's disturbable. And this undisturbed piece has this illusion of being disturbed by thinking, where's that piece? I want that piece. I want that piece when I'm not doing anything. So that's that noise, kind of like what Dr. Lila was saying, right? Creates this comprehension of something that cannot be comprehended, or creates this longing or lack of something that's not lacking. So meaning that whatever noise that arises or thought or whatever, it's irrelevant to what's happening, because it's not even happening when there's no thought. It's just what is.
right. I've heard that so many times.
Well, you know what? Keep asking questions. Just keep on going at it. You know what I'm saying? Until
That's
until
all I
it's
have,
it's
really. That's
until
all I
it's
have.
keep on going, because it's although it's not necessary. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like spit it out.
Yeah, I know. Throw it up or whatever. Yeah.
There, I was talking to someone and basically said, "Okay, Emerson, I am going to book a you don't have a 2 hour one, but can I do a 2 hour back-to-back one?" He goes, "I've been watching your videos, but I have all these questions and I've been writing them down, so I have like 3 pages of questions and everything." And I'm like, it has nothing to do with the questions. There's no questions that can answer this. Because why did I take that questions, all these question taking then? Because one day I'll book, one-on-one with Emerson. I'm going to ask all of the questions. But what's being said here that does not matter what the question is, but why not? Question it. Question it until it doesn't make sense. Because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes the trying to question it to make sense creates this illusion that there's something that I'm missing, but you're not missing anything. It's even in the questioning, right? It's not separated from anything. So it's in the questioner, it's in the questioning, it's in every thought, it's in every feeling. It cannot be missed. It cannot be omitted. It's always no matter what. So it's in the blinking of the eye, it's in the churning of the wheel, it's in the putting of the hand behind the back. It's in all of that.
I think I've heard you say, or someone say that it's like it's stuck in a loop of its own knowing or own knowledge, or
Yeah. So when it's a closed loop of knowing is the you. So all that you are is a closed loop of knowing. So it's not in the knowing, so to speak, because there's no you. So the closed loop of knowing is the illusion. So it's like you're trying to get to a destination, but every time that you press the whatever, the pedal, the moment that you move, you're moving away from it when you're always in it. So it doesn't matter where you go, it's always it. It's not in the direction that you think you're going. It's always there already.
yeah. Well, I find when I go to these meetings or whatever, it maybe not be in like right now that it's sort of heard, but then there's like like a wave to it, or then like maybe some hours later it's
Yeah.
like I don't know, whatever. I don't know.
There's someone that listens to these meetings and and hates it completely while listening to it.
Yeah.
But somehow, after the fight and everything, there's just this um relaxation, so to speak. He goes, I
Yeah.
hate you, but when after I listen to it, I'm like, it's not a cause and effect. So it's become something now that seems to appear as a getting. It's not a getting. It's already
Right.
this.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
know when it apparently happens or is seen, like it's not it was not a cause of anything, but
Yeah.
yeah, I can remember that or whatever. Yeah. I'm gonna let Jonathan. Speak.
Okay. Come back, Mark. Come back. Come back. It's okay. Hey, Jonathan, how are you doing?
Emerson, not too bad. How are
Hi.
you?
How's that?
I'm not too bad. How are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm good. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, you too. Can you hear me all right? Yeah.
I can. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I popped it in the chat. It was just obviously I had no choice in whether I get triggered or not, but I
Oh,
was
that's
slightly
okay.
triggered by like there is no creator, and it's like
Yeah.
how do we know there is no
Yeah.
creator?
Because the
Plus,
knower of,
also to say there is no creator,
yeah.
you need a creator to have the
Yeah.
opposite.
Exactly. Yeah. So check
So
this out. Check this out, right? So in the absence of knowing, meaning that when we see that the knowing is has to have a knower, or the thinking has to have a thinker, when it's seen that it's just thoughts all the way down, including creator or no creator, are just thoughts. But what's being expressed here is that since there is no one here that has a um when it's just when there's nothing separate, there's no separate creator as well. When there's nothing missing, meaning that there's nothing that is um it's like when how to express it, because it's never been separated, so there's no creator. When there's no two, there's no source, because to have a source and a creation, that's two. Does that make any sense? It's an illusion.
I don't think my head can get around it, which is
Yeah.
probably quite a good thing.
um let's just use the
But
word
for
God. Let's just
example,
use the word God. So for example, if God is not separate, then it would not know. You know what I'm saying? A separation.
Okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah,
You
yeah,
get what I'm saying, right? So you will never
yeah, I
know
get.
a creation or a creator because that signifies two. Meaning that there's no
Okay.
I'll go take you to the last session of this thing. If there is a God, does it have free will?
Mm. But then,
Then it will create
like,
that, and that's a
so
separate. So the moment that there's free will, meaning that there is a an independentness, meaning that there's separation, that there's two.
yeah,
Yeah. So what this seeming, shift in perception is that there's nothing opposite. There's nothing separate. That there's nothing. So there's going to be ideas of separation and everything. That's also it. But what cannot be expressed is never been separate. Has never been obstructed. Has never been altered. Has um never been lost. So there's this
how do we
illusion
know?
called, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah,
How do we know that
I like this
that
questioning
is
because
not?
let's exhaust it completely. Yeah. Keep
Yeah,
on going.
let's come on.
Yeah.
How do we
Let it
know
all out.
that is not appearing within something else? So I put it in the chat
because
about
that's a
a few
knowing.
years ago.
So go ahead.
A few years ago, I thought about being an alien.
Yeah.
How do I know I'm not an alien playing a game of Sims and
Yeah.
it's a hyper real game of
Yeah.
Sims?
Because
How do I know,
everything,
for example, that non-dual experience wouldn't be
yeah.
like that?
Because every single thought, every single idea, every single, coming up or conclusion or something is a dream, saying, meaning that it's an illusion. So the illusion can only come up with more illusions. It can't come up with a reality, so to speak, because it's in the realm of illusions. A dream can only produce dream and everything, but it can never produce reality. It can produce reality, but it's always going to be a dream. For example, if you're dreaming at night, if you dreamt that you're an alien, that you're just trapped in a situation, the moment that you open up your eyes, all of that idea vanishes completely, meaning that it's illusory. So all that we
Okay.
can do, all the illusion can do is just produce more illusions. Let's just take it to an hologram idea, right? All of the hologram can function as holographic. So holographic thoughts, holographic dreams, holographic ideas. So when I say that I have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm being completely honest. Because what seemingly appears is just a complete fabrication. So the very language that I'm using, the very language that I'm communicating with is dreamlish. So the very thought that I'm coming up with is also dream thoughts. So I can say, okay, kind of like what I said when I had that long conversation with Dr. Lila. I'm like, and yet we never said anything, that is helpful. It feels great and everything to talk about all of these wondrous ideas about science and all this kind of stuff and even free will and everything. But there's no idea of what's happening. But what seems to be obvious is that there is no one doing any of this, or there's no creator controlling any of this. And what I like about science is that it's trying to catch up to what's being expressed, that that there is just this unspeakable, wondrous mystery that appears in everything, that there's nothing excluded. And yet there's also the mystery of a thought trying to figure out this mystery as aliens or simulation or as creator or as whatever. And it spills up all of these ideas, saying kind of like this wonderful clouds of nothing.
This
And
is it.
that's
The thoughts are now gone into dream within a dream within a dream within a dream within a
yeah,
dream within a
yeah.
dream. How many
Yeah.
layers of dream can there possibly be?
Yeah, and that's the same thing that the scientist is kind of like doing, right? Like the scientist, like, there's this joke and everything, and someone said, well, I know that the Earth's flat. And like, well, how do you know that? And the lady responds and goes, well, because it's in a giant turtle. The planet Earth is being carried by a giant turtle. Well, what's underneath the turtle? She goes, it's turtles all the way down. It's the same thing as trying to figure out something
Yeah.
that it's just all made up. It's all made up. Even trying to, say that there's no one, that's also made up. It's also an idea. But what seems to be obvious is that there is this lost sense of the solidity of a me. This is just talking happening. You know what I'm saying? This is just voice seemingly coming out of nowhere. This is just seemingly appearing as conversing with Jonathan, and Jonathan and Emerson are conversing. But in the absence of thought, if that thought is completely, omitted, it's the what you can call a creator just talking to itself, the uncreated talking to itself, seemingly having this conversation, but it's not separate from each other. So the complete illusion of separation, or creator or man or human and God and everything, appears in this narrative self. But if we take away the narrative self, then there's just this what isness that we can't even talk about, because it does not need to be talked about, because it's appearing perfectly as it is. But the wondrousness of this is that there's this running show with the narrative character called me that has this idea of what this is. So when it's seen that that narrative me, or that loop of knowing, is just an illusion, there's really nothing known. Because to know it is to create a position that creates this reality when there is no such thing. To create a conclusion, although there's no one that can create a conclusion because there's no one behind it. So the illusion can't create an illusory conclusion because it will just be another illusion.
Okay.
But keep at it. Keep
I'll
at it.
let that marinate, I think. Thanks, Emerson.
Thank you. And yet there's no knowing this. But thank you. I like a lot of questions like this. Say it again. The one is narrative of no one. Yeah. When you say that there's only one, but who knows that there's only one? There's also just a narrative, but there's also no one. It's kind of funny, right? Because this can easily be seen as a solipsism, that there's a self, that in the center of it all, there's just this me, the self, the giant self, or the hyper self, or the divine self, or whatever you might want to call it, but it's all imaginary. Because there's no self, all the self can produce is just imaginary narrative self. So when it says that I am the one, there's also no one there, because there's no such thing as a self, which is really, really fantastical ideas of something that is just what is. And Andrew goes, but he'd say, of course, God has free will. He can do whatever he likes. That's just another idea. Who knows that? Again, all knowing is just a product or a byproduct of this illusory self reinforcement. It reinforces itself through knowing. But what is being talked about, what is being sought for, seemingly why people sign up for this, is to basically see through the obviousness of what is present, ever present, the timelessness of this that seems to appear, that cannot be constructed by words or ideas. It's just this and not this at the same time. Oh, iPhone. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Hello. Oh, good. Excellent. Listen, I love what Dr. Leela had to say. She's going to come back later and talk? Is that correct?
I'm
Did I
not
hear that
sure.
right?
I'm not sure. She comes in and out. Yeah.
In and out. Okay. Well, anyway, oh, shit. What was I just going to say about Leela? Oh, yeah, because I want to hear what she has to say, because she's barely
Oh, she's
spoke
here.
about it.
She's here.
She barely spoke. Wait, let me finish the question.
Sorry.
Put her on then. Put her on. I want to ask her.
All
Let me
right,
ask
I'm
Leela.
here, Kev. I'm here.
Oh, hi, doctor.
Dr. Leela has fans now.
I need a doctor.
I have a fan club of one.
Oh, definitely. Add me to it. That makes two. Well, just not two. 0. Anyway,
One and
yeah,
0. That's my fan club.
Oh, those are your numbers.
1 and 0.
1 and 0.
That's
Love
right.
it.
Yeah.
Love it. I'm a 0.5. Anyhow, I just you touched on it one other time, and I had no idea what you were talking about. Vertical and horizontal. What is that?
Oh, I
And I
like
have another
this.
question.
Mm.
What in God's name do you mean
Oh
about
my
that?
God, that's a long, well, I could describe that in so many different ways.
Just
What
give me the
I-
basic, easy
What I
way.
personally mean by the heart or the vertical
Yeah.
is the horizontal is that which is time, space, linear, born, die, linear time, the arrow of time.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah, that's the
we
horizontal.
imagine we were born and then this happened, that happened, this happened, this happened, and everything that falls on it's also any thought is in the horizontal because it has a beginning, middle, and an end. Or
Sure,
any
yeah.
word is in the horizontal because it has letters, and letters have to go across a page.
Mhm.
So anything that is in form is in the horizontal, actually, because it's in space. So space-time, the whole fabric of space-time is in
Okay.
the horizontal. So not just
Okay.
linear time, but space is in the horizontal. It's not just a line, but it's it's 3D reality. And
Okay.
vertical is what happens when you fall through that was in the first thing I think we talked about.
Yeah.
It's the tesseract. It's the fourth dimension that I got turned
Oh.
on to that and kind of went crazy about that because it's actually literally letting the mind sink into the heart in Ramana Maharshi and Rupert Spire used to say that, and a lot of people say that, but it's basically opening maybe we would call it, I don't know if we call it the singularity of this group,
Yeah.
but it's sort of the 0 point energy,
The
it's
singularity.
the still point of
with
the
a Z.
turning world. You just
The
stop
formless.
you stop everything, and it's not
Okay.
emptiness because it actually is. The Heart Sutra brings you to that point, which is Emerson was saying is halfway between 0 and 1, but it isn't really.
No.
It's not either, and it
Yeah.
is both. And then at that point, everything
Mm.
opens up to the experience of the ineffable, which is an endless descent or raising. It doesn't
Free
go
falling,
either
they call it
way.
in non-duality.
Free
Yeah.
fall. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about, which is the vertical. And
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
experience of source in its wave-like. Now today the analogy is the wave, but in its what do we call it? Chaos principle.
Chaos
Yeah.
theory. Yeah. Yeah. It's so is it formless?
Yes. And
Yeah,
form.
okay.
It's
And
everything
form.
and
It's
nothing.
everything?
It's everything that comes out of
It's
his mouth.
everything. It's everything and nothing simultaneously. Yeah. Okay. Formless and
Right.
form.
So like imagine this, if you were like if you go on YouTube and start looking at some examples of what 3-dimensional space looks to a 4-dimensional or a 5-dimensional being, or start looking into other dimensions, and it'll give your mind.
Are there other dimensions?
Yes.
Yes.
Mathematically there are.
There's no other
like
dimension.
it'll give your mind something kind of
that's
landing.
a what do you call it? Like, imagination fantasy,
There
creating.
are other dimensions.
Oh
Well,
my God, you're flipping me out now. Now, I was just saying I have a history of YouTube videos that haven't even opened yet. I just listened for 3 minutes, so I have them saved. I can't get to anything, but wow, that's
we'll start with the 4th dimension and we'll start with that and just think
And
about
then
it,
work your way up.
and then it'll blow your mind, and then you can put it all down and then just listen to Emerson.
How high can you go?
Well, yeah. String theory says that, I don't know. String theory says there are lots more.
Oh my goodness. No, well, thank you so much. Your stuff is so interesting. You and Emerson, when you do all the AI stuff, I love that stuff. I do. It's just the best because
It's actually designed to make your mind stop because you can't really figure it out. It's just kind of.
Oh well, but I love trying. It
It's my
doesn't stop.
version of Emerson's riff. It's my scientific version of Emerson's riff.
I just love it. I love trying to figure it out. Oh my goodness, that's the best part. Trying to figure all this shit out.
Right.
Okay, we had another question. And because listen, it's overwhelming, listening and all that. You know that. Well, I don't know if you know that, but and I'm not going to ask you about the bee and why you quit medicine. But anyway, I don't know. When you were talking about the split and the wave and the particle and blah blah blah, and at some point, did you say like scientists are saying like nothing exists until there's the observer?
Yes.
You did say that. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Well, that's implied in the double slit that they don't go that far. I was going farther.
Oh.
They say that what the observer does is it collapses the wave function, which is probability, into the particle, which is a definition. So if you would look into the Wigner's paradox or any of those things, whether the cat is alive or dead, you wouldn't know that.
Schrodinger's cat,
Yeah, Schrodinger's cat and all that stuff. So, but the reason I know that nothing exists without an observer is from my exploration in virtual reality. I explained in one of these things that I realized when I started programming in VR that you can't create an observable universe without a point of view.
Oh.
And that's
you first have to believe that you can do it.
That's where it became
there's somebody
clear
there.
that the observable universe, any object or any universe needs a point of view. It doesn't matter whether the point of view is behind your eyes or anywhere else, but it needs a camera and a light source. And or else you get a blank.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of quote enlightened teachers talk about lack of a center. That whole centerless.
The centerless, yeah.
Wow.
That's when the subject object collapses, right? Because there's no more observer and there's nothing observed.
They merge, they merge into
not really merge, but it's just seen without any opposites. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, the whole dance of opposites is through the center of it's vertical.
Well, what? I didn't hear. Sorry.
The opposites are on the horizontal. So that was your original question.
Right.
You know what, Kathy? I'm going to say something to you that has nothing to do with all of this. Ever since I've been listening to Emerson, you've been coming on, asking questions, trying to figure things out.
You know me.
I think you need to stop now.
Oh,
that's
please.
Why you like me. That's why you like what I'm saying. But I
enjoy my tools.
You're
Emerson
just
was calling them
masturbating.
Tools one day. I just love my tools. So much fun.
And I take it from one who's been doing this for a very long time. I can only play with this stuff because I gave up the search. If I were still believing that any of this had any relevance, I couldn't do this.
It's just play now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Leela.
It's Leela. Yeah.
Leela. It's Leela, the play.
When I was Lauren, which was my previous incarnation, I couldn't. This was actually in my way of seeing what I had to see.
That was the funk, huh?
The searching,
the seeking,
the searching. I call it searching.
Seeking, I was trying to make sense out of chaos. I was trying to make sense out of chaos before I saw the bee in the flower, and I kind of dropped the whole.
That's good. Interestingly, though, and I've heard Emerson say this. And I always, I mean, Emerson's the only person that ever does this stuff, nobody's really doing these long meetings like this with questions. But when in the vertical, I mean, in the appearance, there has to be duality.
Right.
unless you glitch out for a minute, like Mark was talking about this morning, you glitch out. But the appearance, just the fact that it's appearing makes it dual.
Exactly. And
And, so to be in the vertical, I mean, like I said, unless there's a glitch out, a glimpse,
but see, you're thinking when you say to be in, it's like you're a point in it.
the experiential.
Who's experiencing it?
Well, if there's no one here who's experiencing, you see where I'm trying to get to?
I see where you're trying to get to, but
Yeah.
you're using the wrong you're using the wrong tool. You know what? You'd be better off just letting your heart. Part of how this happened for me is just trying to let your heart crack open. Forget your mind. Just stop.
Yeah.
Stop every activity above the mind, above the neck.
That's too painful.
Put it on.
That's too painful.
And start breathing.
Crack your heart open. What do you want? That's just a lot of pain.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. That's a story. That's a story.
That's my
just
story.
A neutral sensation. It's a neutral sensation with a big drama story on top of it.
With the big drama story attached.
Excuse me for being
it's called the Seeking Special. With a big whip, story on top.
Yeah. Whipped cream,
which is also what is. What is.
Yeah. In Emerson's words, it's what is.
Yeah, that's great.
It's also the trauma special, the trauma train.
Woo, stop now.
Woo, I'm the trauma train. All right, Kathy, I don't want to go any further.
Right. Hey, Leela, thank you.
Okay,
thank you, Doc.
Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, talk to you later. Ciao.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thanks. Love it.
Okay. Question here. Sorry, just a second. Ooh. Do you want to ask a question, Jonathan? Please go ahead.
No.
Okay. You said it's very confused. Oh, the AI. The AI is very confused.
The AI companion. When I did catch up, in it. It said Emerson has been watching Mark Nelson's videos and has a list of questions he wants to ask.
Oh.
It sounds like you want to ask Mark a lot of questions.
So Mark, are you ready to be a speaker? I don't even know where that AI thing is now. Oh, right there. Okay. It's kind of cool. It's like a little quark coming in and out, this AI thing. You can see it on top of the screen.
It's great you have AI as a character attending your meetings
now.
Yeah. Because AI is going to be our next guru.
That's right. Yeah. It's learning all the languaging. Yeah. Next time, you know what? It will just appear, just like there's a meeting. And there's a Synthesia version of this character. Oh, hey, what if that's what's happening?
Right. It's the guru bot.
The guru bot.
Quantum guru bot.
That's right. You have a question, Mark? Oh, yes, Mark, go ahead, please.
Yeah, well, so I guess, I mean, it's just completely beyond the mind, right? It's not
It's
in any
completely
way,
beyond the mind that there's no mind to comprehend it.
right?
Yeah. So meaning that there's no processing, there's no even comprehending, because comprehension will require time. What if what is being spoken about is timeless, and what's being spoken here appears in time. So whatever is being spoken in time seems to be just a timeline that does not appear in timelessness. It's an illusion. So the whole timeline is an illusion. And there's just this timelessness here that seems to be what is. And that's why there's seemingly a zapping of Mark when it's seemingly kind of like not Mark seeing it, but when it's timeless. Does that make
Right.
any sense? And then time comes again. They're like, oh, there was no Mark. It's trying to figure out what happened. But it never really happened because there's no time where it happened to. And it happens every day to everybody in the story, right? Like raking leaves and everything. I was raking leaves, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, there's 2 bags of leaves here already.
Mm.
Who did that? I don't know. There's just this seeming kind of like an appearance of time. So time comes in apparent waves, and it seems to construct a continuity, like a before and after. But what seems to be appearing is just this: the past, the future, the present is all appearing all at once.
Yeah.
So when that seems to be seen as that, appearing simultaneously, then there's no time really. It's just this. And then you get into thought again. I'm like, what did I do yesterday?
Yes,
So it goes
I'm
into
trying not to understand it. I'm trying to just
I tried to do that too before. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to understand it. I even used to put, a lot of this, talks when I was sleeping so that in the morning I'll wake up and I
I
did
heard
not
that.
get it, but I would have gotten it. But it's nothing that is being said here. This is almost like a stop sign, so to speak, that seems to, create this narrative of there's nowhere to go. It's already this.
Right. Yeah.
But it keeps on trying to circle around a stop sign. Where's the stop sign? Where is it? It's here. But there's no you to stop. That's what it's basically trying to express, is that there's no you to stop because it's already this. Not this as an understanding, not this as a construct, but this as just this. Even when it's not this, it's in everything. It's in the seeking, it's in not the doing. Kind of like if you notice it, you're trying not to listen to it, right? You're trying to get it, but that's also it.
There's no like center point to
There's no center point. Yeah.
anything. Like
There's no meaning to it, right? So by trying to listen to it or not to listen to it, it tries to give meaning to something that is completely, meaningless. So it reinforces it.
right.
Yeah, that
It
there's
involves
meaning in
that
what's,
it's
that there is
important and
something
has
to get, that there's
meaning.
something important that's being talked about, right?
Yeah.
There is a joy and passion in talking about this. It's not like this is not like an obstruction or a koan or a guessing game or something
Yeah,
that's,
of course.
it's
I
not.
can
It's just basically plainly saying that there's nothing to get, but because it is already. So when it's expressed that it is already, it means that whatever you do, even when you try not to do, is it. You're like, how do I do that then?
yes. Right.
So when you had a glimpse earlier, that was almost like curse, right? Because you're like, oh, I want that. I want that. You know what? Can I have that?
Yeah.
It's this already. It's also this. That glimpse is this. But there's no you in the glimpse. So you're the one that glimpsed out, meaning that Mark disappeared. But there's already no Mark. It is what it is already, as it is.
You didn't feel like your head was gonna explode when you listened to this before you began talking about it, or?
No, not really. Well, actually, no. Before, yeah, when I was seeking, it
Yeah,
felt like
well,
it
yeah,
felt like I was going to implode, right? Because it's like I don't get this. I don't try to get this, but it's not in the. It has nothing to do with your brain. There's not even a brain. So that's what's mind blowing, is that there's no mind. That there's really no neurons firing and trying to seek this. It's just what is.
and it gets labeled as the mind or whatever.
What's a mind?
I don't know.
There you go. Without the mind, there's no you. Without the mind, there's no seeking. But what if there's no mind? There's already no you. It's not trying to convince that there's no you, because it's still going to feel like there's a you. But there's no you behind that feeling. It's just
Right.
normal. It's just normal. It's not about changing something. There's already no you. You know what I'm saying? But it's going to feel like there's a you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's already no time, but it seems like it's time's ticking. There's already this complete absence of everything, but it feels like it's full. It's already this, but it doesn't feel like it's already this. So it's not in what Mark thinks, because there's no Mark behind that. Mark is just a thought. It's a collection of thoughts. And not even that. But Mark is also what is. So it's not about getting rid of Mark, because there's no Mark. So it just reinforces Mark if there is trying to get this, and which is what you're trying to do. Which is brilliant, which is just what is. Who cares? So what?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's peace no matter what.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Keep on coming back, Mark. Hi, Vera.
Hi.
Oh, hello. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I just went swimming before. It was nice and cold, so it felt good. But
Excellent. Good to see you.
yeah, yeah, nice to see you. What about that there may still be, if this is a simulation, possibly, that there is some kind of a simulator, whatever it might be, a thing,
Yeah.
a who knows what, an energy, whatever you,
Yeah.
no name to it, but something is simulating this whole.
But that's just another simulation that something is simulating this, right? Because even the very thinking or the idea is another simulation. So simulation will just have simulations.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
but if you keep going back, eventually you get to the original
But
simulation.
it will still be a simulation. The simulation can only function in simulation. You will not get to the source or whatever, because it's just a simulation.
So
Like, for
then
example, if there's a video game, right? A video game that's playing, which is a complete simulation, the video game will not know that it's a video game. Yeah, the simulation will not know that it's a simulation.
Right, but somebody has triggered the game to start playing. Something has triggered the game to turn it on.
But that's just in the realm of simulation, beginnings and endings. It's just a simulation. What if the whole simulation is a complete construct, and all that it can do is just in the function of simulation, which is basically beginning or ending. So it can't comprehend what is that does not create or that does not destroy.
So then you're saying there's nothing that's creating.
There's nothing. There's no knowing of what's creating, or it's just unknown. But there's no origin or there's no ending, because to have an ending or to have a beginning is just another idea, a construct. So what's being expressed cannot be constructed. It's just what is. So it can appear as beginnings or endings, but it's not in any of those at the same time. It's not a conclusion. because
Well,
that
it's
will appear
the,
as knowing. Yeah. So for example, if you say that there's a creator or a non-creator, then that's just another knowing, right? So that's why I say it's completely unknowable. It's unfathomable. And by the moment that you think you figured it out, then there's a character that seems to have come into conclusion. And there's nothing wrong or right about that. Yeah.
well, it's something unknowable,
Yeah.
unnameable is somehow making all this happen.
It's not even happening. See, that's the thing.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
not
the very happening is an illusion, right? So it's not even happening.
well, it's an amazing illusion with so much detail. That's endless detail.
Completely, yeah. That's why it's wow, right? It's like, wow, how is this even happening, right? Because you can go to the intricacies, kind of like what we're talking about scientifically earlier. If you go all the way to look for Vera, you will never find Vera, but you'll find quarks that seems to disappear if you go to the particle of it, right? And if you go beyond, extend outside of Vera, then you can go to the seemingly like trillions of planets and suns and stars and everything, right? And it never
Yeah.
stops.
It never stops.
This illusion is as infinite as it is, right? There's this infiniteness, and the illusion is also infinite,
Right.
which is fantastic. But it's an illusion, so it's not even happening. It's what's being expressed here. But it's so grand, right? It's such a grand, perfect wow, right? So like if you look at a strand of a hair, you can keep on looking at it, you're like, it's just magic. And then if you go, yeah, and then somehow the seeker is stuck here when there's this vastness, you know what I'm saying? This wonderful, seemingly, you know what I'm saying? Seemingly solid when there's no solidity, when it's all empty space. So if you go, if you go all the way see Vera, right, there's not even a solidity there. It's just a quark coming in and out. If you go to the farthest reaches of the universe, black holes, and there's no one there. You know what I'm saying? It's beautiful.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
whatever is nothing is beautiful.
Yeah. And to construct it into a creator is almost like an insult to what cannot be expressed.
Well, some kind of a force is erupting all this.
Well, you can call it artificial intelligence.
AI.
So AI, yeah.
Some kind of universal AI.
Yeah, yeah. Like a cosmic AI, you know what I'm saying? It's not a creator, but it's constantly infinitely creating and destroying simultaneously. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, that's just another idea.
Another
And it's
idea.
irrelevant to what is.
Well, the ideas are just coming through. So if they're coming through something from something,
It's also what is, yeah.
it is what
It's not
is.
separate from what is, yeah. So it's nothing wrong or right about, but they're just ideas at the same time.
It's an idea that's being presented and promoted for
For no reason.
For no reason or a reason, maybe.
Doesn't even have an audience. That's what's shocking about it, right? There's no audience to this. Because there's no separateness. There's no audience.
There's nothing then, according to this understanding, whether it's separateness or.
But nothing as an understanding. See, because nothing as an understanding is just something again.
So there's no understanding, no nothing.
Yeah.
No word.
And that's the brilliance of it, right? Because it's kind of like what Dr. Lila was saying. It's like looking at that the bee, right? The construct of that bee is more complex than the whole medical field, than the whole study in the medical field, right? It's just brilliant. Yeah.
There's a lot of words, seemingly there's a lot of words to describe all this.
Of course.
You're
And that's
able
also it. That's also it. You know what I'm saying?
funny.
No words or I can be completely silent in this meeting, and that's also it.
Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like a constant stream of words to describe nothing.
They're not even words. You know what I'm saying? It's just without the word, it's not really a word, isn't it? It's just whatever it is.
Maybe the only thing that exists is your dog.
That's it. Woof, woof.
Woof, woof. Woof, woof is
It's
the
just
only
it's just woofing in the vastness of this eternity.
right. That's the only thing real is woof woof.
Thank you, Vera.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. David. Hey, David.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hi. You mentioned, sorry, just turning this upside down. You mentioned infinity a moment ago, and I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
The tent is a bit. One sec. Is that better? Right. So yeah.
Oh, there's the doggy. Hi, doggy.
Hugo. Say hello. Say hello, Hugo. Right. I was thinking about infinity the
Yeah.
other day. You mentioned, and infinity is just really an idea, isn't it?
And that's what's
Like
great about the infinity is because it cannot be put into an idea.
So it's well.
It's a
here's
zapper,
what-
right?
here's-
So when you say it's infinite, you're like, oh, it's not a time
Yeah.
thing because there's no such thing as time in infinite. It's just
Right.
yeah.
Here's what I have to say about infinity.
Yeah.
Infinity is an idea and it's a
Yeah.
concept, and
Yeah.
and for that reason, it's bound. So there is no infinity. So there can't be an infinity
Yeah.
because it's just an idea. It's limited.
Everything
it's contained.
is, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
contained within a word. It's contained within a concept.
Yeah.
So there isn't any infinity, and that leads me to the question I now have for you,
Go ahead.
which is there infinity? Is there like
no.
is there like an absolute infinity which exists
Yeah.
without the concept, an idea, or thought of infinity?
Well, with words, when we're just talking about the narrative infinity, when you can call it a narrative, there's no such thing because it's just a narrative infinity. What is being expressed again cannot be thought of. We can call it infinite, we can call it, vastless, boundless or whatever, but they're just really markers for something that cannot be pigeonholed. It cannot be labeled. So this unnameable, labelless, seemingly infiniteness and everything is really a construct of something that cannot be constructed as an idea. And the very idea of infinite, meaning that you cannot really fathom what infinite is, seems to capture, but it can't really capture it at the same time because there's no such thing. Basically, it's like listening to a dog barking, going back with what Vera is saying, and trying to say that bark means infinite. It's all bark. It's all noise. So we're just making a noise. Yeah, we're just making a noise in something that does not require any kind of explanation.
Right. So it's not a quality then. Infinity is not a quality.
Nope.
And so today it's infinity, tomorrow it's unconditional love, the next day it's this, the next day it's freedom. And so by infinity, that's what you mean, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's nothing being
nothing,
everything.
Yeah, nothing being everything.
Yeah.
The unknowableness. If you notice throughout, my almost 2 years of speaking about this, I have changed the words constantly, and this not stick to any topic at all because it's incomprehensible. It's ineffable. You know what I'm saying? So trying to basically F with the ineffable is what's happening.
Yes. So if I was to think about infinity, I would start to think about sort of like distance in space and light years and astronomical numbers, but so big that the number doesn't actually stop. So anytime you think about it, the number keeps growing. So it's getting further away from you the more you think about it.
That's right. Yeah.
Because
it's trying to comprehend something that's incomprehensible. And then sometimes, you know what, even when you say infinity, there is a good chance that someone has an understanding of what infinity is. And then it stays there and it becomes this this capturing of something that does not need capturing because it's in everything. Like, for example, it's in the word infinity, but it's also in the word nothing. It's also in the word, whatever words seem to come up. It's in the sound, it's in the silence, it's in the spit. It's in the minutes, it's in the infinitesimal, it's into the whatever, we're just using words again. But it's not separate from anything.
I keep coming back these days. I keep coming back to the conclusion that it's just all words, and they're all as meaningless as each other.
Well, that's a beautiful way to
So it doesn't
actually
matter if
just
you're
to be at
talking
peace
about
with it.
infinity and
Yeah,
getting all intellectual
yeah,
about it, or if you're talking about a piece of bubble gum. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't
totally,
make any difference.
totally. And
They
then
have the
some,
same they have the same non-meaning, if you will,
exactly. Sometimes, you know
and
what?
absolutely zero significance to anything.
And then sometimes, you know what?
Yeah.
If you capture what this character does, is it goes into poeticism. Sometimes it goes into really simplistic things. Sometimes it's very just very minimalistic.
Yeah.
Sometimes it goes into this bombastic telling of a story. Sometimes it will just say boom.
Yep.
It doesn't matter, right? And
Yeah.
that's why there's a
Yeah.
joy in speaking about this. And
Yeah.
and even with this kind of like conversation about free will and added with science and everything, it's still there's
Yes.
a confession that it's not known, that science is also
Yes.
taking you to another narrative of what cannot be
Yeah.
told as
Yeah.
a story. But yet
Yeah.
there's this kind of like, oh, this is such a great conversation. For example, yesterday I had the opportunity to talk to a newbie group that was kind of like that has been subscribing and everything and going to this talk. They have no idea what non-duality is. They're beginning to. And then when
Are
I
they?
talked about,
Sorry to interrupt you. Is it a non-duality newbie group?
there is what happened was someone shared my video, and to a whole bunch of people had a seeming glimpse to what is. They didn't understand what was happening, right? It was just very I guess what I talked about is nothing has ever moved. So it kind of like collapse that idea of what does he mean that nothing ever moves or whatever. So there's a lot of interest. Now the subscription went up on my YouTube channel. So there's a bigger group that are no idea what non-duality is. I've never heard of radical non-duality. So when we talked about
Yes.
the no free will, it was a lot of resistance because they're like, how about karma? How about morality? So it's very tough the first 3 sessions. I did 5 sessions in one day yesterday. So it's like 10
Okay.
hours. And at the end
Wow.
of it, the beautiful freedom of like, oh, okay, means that everything is really innocent. So when it was beginning to dawn on them that even scientifically, that, even in determinism, it points out to the innocence of what is. And there was just this hush, like almost kind of like a quietness in the last session, because it was a tough, kind of like a shell to break, so to speak, and to
Yeah.
understand that there's really nothing needed. It's already the case. And there's a lot of characters that think that there's a lack, I need to practice more. And again, there's nothing wrong or right about that, right?
Yeah.
And it's just seeing the perfection in everything, right? So it was beautiful. It was
Are
beautiful.
those videos available? I would love to be a fly on the wall to
Yeah,
those.
yeah. You know what? Next time, you know what? There's the only thing that I request, because there's a couple of people that have gone through them, is they police
Yeah.
the newbies. They'll be like, there's no so they're quite confused of what's happening. So they're getting radical non-duality policed by characters for people that have no idea what it is, right? So it creates a lot
Yeah.
of so yeah, so
Okay. Yeah.
so next time when you go, it's just that no policing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can do
For
whatever you
sure.
want to do, but it's almost
Yeah.
like they're
Yeah. Yeah.
very fragile, because they're coming from, a lot of them are coming from belief systems, and it's quite
Yes.
again, it is what it is, but somehow this character is trying to meet them where they're at, and also being
Yeah.
sharp and non-compromising at the same time, saying that it is already what it is,
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but yeah, they're quite caught up on that expression of a higher self. So a lot of them,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's
Yeah.
still a lot of belief, which is quite hard
Yeah.
to see through. That's just another And again, there's nothing wrong or right about that. It's just a belief system, right? But that seems to create this narrative that that there's a lack, that there's something missing, because I'm not realizing that. So when they're not realizing, there's an idea that there's a higher potential, that there's a higher self, then they'll be more compassionate, then they'll be more happy, then they'll be more at peace when they realize that. And that's a lot of the teaching that leads into that there's something that is not that there's something missing. But when it's seen that everything is already as it is, then that narrative completely falls apart. And there's so much freedom in just seeing what is. that there's nothing lacking, that there's no one choosing, that everything is innocent. And so yeah, so talking about no free will, like, for 10 hours basically, seemingly kind of like dissolved a lot of that idea, that there's something that they are missing or they're not doing. Because even in these circles, sometimes that, like, what am I missing? What am I missing? Even if they've heard a million times that there's nothing missing, everything is already.
Yes. Were there a lot of rapid fire questions from these people?
There was in the beginning.
Were you getting it? Were you getting it from all angles all at once? I bet you were.
Yeah, there is a lot of rapid fire questions that it's almost like one after the other, but it's the same questions over and over again. It's about how can I get there? Yeah, how do I do that? And how do I do this? And it's just the same thing over and over again. And again, it's very rejected, right? So I came into this thing about, that, well, there's some science backing it up now, right? Even with the whole science and everything, someone that studied it for 30 years, you know what I'm saying? And all this kind of stuff. What's already obvious, because it's so simple just to express, you know what I'm saying? But that there is simply no one there, because there's no separation. The dream of separation is an illusion. So there's no free will. Bingo, stop, right? But seemingly when there's characters that are seemingly kind of like in the realm of understanding things as the self. So where does the self, how does the self do, you know what I'm saying? Is the self doing this for me now then? Is there a creator? Which is the common question, right? Am I already the self? I'm not realizing it. And the moment that there's an ownership to what seems to be happening, there is this, which I experience as a seeker and as a spiritual teacher, there is, what do I need to do then? So it becomes a doing. If there's an idea that there's something that I'm missing, then there's something that I need to do. Do I need more contemplation? Do I need more inquiry? Do I need more, what do I need to do? Even if you say that there's nothing to be done, when there is a seeming wrong, a correction that's needed. And you see this in spiritual, and as of late, someone actually messaged me. They're like, what's happening with this character that is correcting a whole bunch of people? I'm like, oh, that's also what is, but that perpetuates the suffering, that there's something wrong. There's already, it's almost like there's people that comes to listen to this, wants to alleviate the suffering, and by giving them thinking that there's something wrong with them, that they can do something about it, is cruel in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Because it just perpetuates that there's something wrong with the seeking. Only if you listen to me, then that kind of thing. Then there's pedestaling and everything, that there's something. When I come into this meeting, there's no one here and there's no one there. It's all empty. So if someone screams at me, that's cool. If someone loves me, that's cool. It's just whatever is happening. There's no need. There's no need to believe me or not believe me. You know what I'm saying? It's just what is. I'm not selling anything. You know what I'm saying? It's just some sober talk that there's nothing to get. Like even when somebody gets into the idea that is it nothing, then that's just another idea. Or even when there is an idea that there's no one here, that's just another idea. So it's looking at all angles and basically kind of like shaking the rug and say, see, it's really nothing. But nothing as an understanding.
It is remarkable that we all keep coming back year after year, week after week, meeting after meeting, when you constantly say, listen, there is nothing here for you.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. All right, David.
Thanks. Nice chatting to you.
Thank you later. Hey, Glenn. Oh, Glenn, how are you doing?
Hey, Emerson.
Good to see you.
You too. I just thought I'd say hi.
Yeah, it's been a while. What time is it there now? Is it early in the morning over there, right?
In Australia, it's on the East Coast. It's 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah, that's what I. Well, it's so good to see you.
You too.
Yeah.
I would say that I suppose the one thing I would say would be it's amazing because when there's just unconditional love, none of those things you were even talking about
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
You don't care
No.
about whether there's a universe or a God, or there's just no meaning.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see how long this
Meaning
question goes.
has no
Yeah.
relevance.
Really?
Oh, I'm just going to mute you there, Kathy, just a second.
Oh, so sorry.
No worries. No worries. Sorry, go ahead, Glenn. She didn't know
Yeah,
that.
so there, I would say, there's life, which is completely undescribable. You can't.
Yeah.
And then there's unconditional love, which is life, and then
Yeah.
there's absolutely none of it has any relevance. You don't
Yeah.
care.
That's what
You
it
don't
is.
care,
It's that easiness, right? God or no
Yeah.
God, whatever seems to appear. You know what I'm saying? It's just what is.
Yeah.
So it's not longing for meaning or conclusion or getting something, right? Because that's the incessant seeking creates this suffering in seeking of what already is. So
Yeah,
what
it's
is
amazing.
is already what is. So what is
Yeah.
seeking what is, but overlooks that it's already what is. It's already the unnameable. It's already the unfigureoutable. You know what? And it's trying to figure it out, and it goes into these cycles and cycles when it's already nothing is longing for nothing when it's already nothing. And that's just a word trying to describe something that cannot be described, or for
Right. I mean, I was
people that
looking.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I
for
was
people
looking
that
at
more into the God thing,
Yeah.
it's the undivided, unknowable God longing for the unknowable, undivided God when it's already the undivided, unknowable God, but not as a being, not as a creator, but something as something that can be constructed as an idea, not as a concept. But who cares? But go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, it's honestly it's like a magic trick, right?
Yeah.
Something from nowhere. Something's created
Yeah.
out of nothing.
Yeah.
Seems to, but yet you're looking at it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you look out the window,
Yeah.
or you're outside. Just the beauty is so almost unbearable.
It
You can't look
is.
at it. So
It is. It
and
is.
then it's like, who cares, right? Who cares, right? You don't even care if you live or die.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't seem to make any difference.
It's just peace.
I
You
mean,
know what I'm
in
saying?
fact, you
It's just
die. Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting hearing you talking about artificial intelligence, and those kind of discussions. I find that I'm not interested. I mean, I see the appeal of it,
yeah.
but I'm
Yeah.
kind of not interested in the
It's the
artificial
same as
intelligence
talk.
thing because it's
It's the same as talking about, I don't know, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's just a talk, and it doesn't mean
true. That's
anything.
true.
Yeah.
That's very true. Very, very true.
It's just entertainment for whatever. You know, saying it's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It's fascinating. Yeah.
yeah,
Like this
yeah,
talk.
yeah,
Like this talk about non-duality is completely irrelevant. You know, because kind of like what you
yeah,
said, it doesn't matter what it is. It's like it's unconditional, whatever it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then you find yourself talking about
Yeah, for no reason at all, but that's also it.
it. Yeah. Whatever.
Brilliant.
No, but I really appreciate, you and doing these meetings. I mean, I usually don't. This first time I've ever actually said
Yeah.
anything, but
Oh, thank you.
I mean, the love that comes through the sharing on that unconditional love, it's hard to describe. It's so beautiful just to see you, and just you kind of, in a way, you share that, you resonate
Oh,
to it,
thank
and
you.
it's somehow it creates a beautiful, yeah, can't describe it. It's very beautiful, yeah.
Oh, thank you,
When
Glenn.
when you're sharing that and you're resonating with that with somebody else, it's somehow it's just very beautiful, yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Let's chat again soon. Let's chat and catch up. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you. Kathy. Hello, Kathy.
Oh, you unmuted me. Thank you. And I didn't know I was unmuted before when Glenn
Again,
was so beautiful. That was such a beautiful way he ended whatever when he was talking. Oh my goodness. Wow. That was so nice.
oh,
Nobody
you.
could ever say love Emerson like that guy did.
Thank you.
That was
you.
mind-blowing.
Thank you.
Oh, so what I wanted to say was, you know, I never know what's on with the phone, you know, even the freaking camera, because I could be very embarrassed right now.
No worries. No worries.
I have a bathing suit on. It's about 90 degrees here. But anyway, it's so mind-blowing that it's so hot. Anyway, no, I love to hear that that one-to-one with David. I love that.
Yeah. It's
And
I love David's
and
questions. They're
yeah,
the best questions.
so
Yeah.
that's what I was saying. David takes the question right out of my mind. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It just, but what happened was, I fight with it all the time. You know that, right? And I'm just now
And that's also
realizing
it. Fighting with it is also it.
No, I'm realizing now it's poetry.
Yeah.
Don't you get it?
Yeah.
Because nobody can get it. It was like that. That's just, I was always fighting every freaking word. When you said permanent one day, I actually went into contortions. I had to go into the bathroom. I was like, what's permanent? I mean, I went crazy because I hang on to the word, see, because
Yeah. There's always a disclaimer, you know, with these talks, right? That is just all meaningless. And it's always mentioned that it's pointless.
But it's my conditioning. It's probably my age. I don't know. This is my conditioning, you know. Everything has to be verified.
Don't worry, someone
Except what? Excuse me?
Someone messaged me, you know, wrote a really, really long letter about, I can't remember a single word that I used, you know, that I don't usually use. And the person, like, I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry. Like, just responded like a couple of not even a sentence, just, you know, sorry about that, that kind of thing, right? This mini response.
Oh, it was a nasty letter?
No, it was just a letter about trying to kind of like, about this word that I use. I can't even remember. And the person basically wrote another letter and then basically, you know, put a link, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I did not really respond, because basically what I said was, and it's kind of funny, right? Because the person got caught up in that word. And then after that sentence, I'm like, but don't get caught up with words, because they're just words and they're completely meaningless. And I cited that, and he goes, oh, sorry about that. I just got caught up with that word. Because it did not appear in the
sweet. Sounds like me.
In the approved you know, words for non-duality, right?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what happened here.
Yeah.
It's exactly what happened here. And I'm not going to apologize.
No need to.
Because there's nobody here. But yeah, so anyway, just that's, yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, hi, Rosa. I don't know if Rosa's still here. Hi, Rosa. Love you too. Oh,
Love
thank
you,
you.
Emmy.
Oh, hi.
Hi, boom, boom. I'm enjoying the show. Beautiful, beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Glenn, for those beautiful words. Thank you, David. Can you wear different glasses next time so I can see your eyes when you're transmitting? I'm not transmitting anything. What topics did you discuss yesterday for the 10 hours of no free will? There's just a lot of it's so funny, right? Because there's really nothing to discuss, but seemingly there's a lot of thing that seems to be interconnected with what is the illusion basically is very frail, is very flimsy. For example, if you talk about time as a construct, then there's really no free will, there's no self. If you talk about there's no self, there's no time, and there's no free will, and it just keeps on going, right? It's a very obvious house of cards that if you pull one out, then everything seems to be to fall apart. Even with science and everything, it's quite fascinating. For example, if you look at time, maybe when we come back we'll talk about time, on how that the perception of time as being linear is a construct, or that the appearance of time is a construct, or even in quantum physics. Um, I talk about this in a radical non-duality expression, that there's no time because it's obvious that there's no one here. But somehow, when there is a articulation of something that cannot be articulated, right? There's the science seems to seemingly explain something that cannot be explained, although it will never get there because it's just trying to catch up to something that does not require any kind of like understanding. But when inquiring minds want to know, it zaps them out that there's nothing to know, because when even the trying to figure out is in a time construct. But we'll talk about that when we come back, because that's a longer conversation. But yeah, there's so many subjects, right? There's um um so many I can't think right now. But yeah, it will come up. And then keep the questions coming, right? If something that, like for example, when the whole construct of spirituality falls apart, when there is no free will or choice, the whole guilt and shame of religion completely dismantles, or even that guruhood or that teacherhood completely just vanishes when there's no one choosing to do anything. So when there's the freedom of the constraints, or the seeming kind of like handcuffs of what seems to be liberation, when there is just this seeing through that illusory construct of you doing this or not doing this, then there's just this freedom that cannot be expressed through words. So for the third and final session for today anyway, there's going to be, I'm going to record the introduction, but I'm going to stop the recording for people that wants to just, and I'll probably open it to gallery style if people want to speak and everything. Usually questions run out towards the end of the day. But maybe not recording it can kind of like the last time that I did this. Yeah. Did you want to ask a question, Corey?
Oh, I, I was just wondering whether it's 9 o'clock UK time here.
Oh,
So
okay.
does this session end at 9 and the next one begin at 10 o'clock here?
Yeah, there's just this one ends in eight minutes, and then there's an hour break, and
Right.
then the other one, it's going to just be an hour and a half for the other one.
Oh,
I tried
yeah.
to make it to try to schedule it earlier so that it's not too late, but I do like having the 3 sessions. But the
Right.
last one will just be just I'll do an introduction and I'll stop the recording, and then people can can discuss or whatever, and then
Oh,
we'll end it an hour and a half so it's not too late. And
yeah.
then tomorrow will be the same. Yeah, but tomorrow, if people want to join, they'll be just like people can drink tea and hang out and everything. I'll try to be back so that I can hang out and everything, because usually what I do is I walk with my dog and I completely forget to come back. But yeah.
Will there be a breakout room after this one?
Yes. Yeah, there's a breakout room after this one too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Corey. Oh, there's a question here. Is there co-creation? In the story, saying you can collaborate with a character and everything, but there's also no one. There's also no others. So it's brilliant. There's this appearance of two or others and everything, but it's just an appearance. So it's not about getting rid of that appearance. It's just what is. It's the innocence of what seems to appear as two when there's no two. So when there's collaboration or co-creation, but there's no creator, so that seems to be, you can't really create something um that's outside of illusion. So even creating is just illusory. Participation, or we're happy full moon and partial lunar eclipse, Emerson. Oh, thank you, Nick. I don't even know what that is anymore. All I know is that song from the 80s, Total Eclipse of the Heart. Turn around.
Keep going. That's not fair.
Every now and then I fall up. Not
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, go on, Emmy. This is so beautiful. Go on.
Oh,
Go on. Lovely.
I have to rehearse my voice. I don't have any warm-ups. So.
Oh, come on.
Don't believe it. Don't believe it.
Maybe after when it's not recorded. This is recorded, so. Shyness happens as well, but for no one. Well, thank you so much, everyone. We're going to take a small break, an hour break. Unless there's any questions, speak now or forever, whatever. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you guys in an hour. And